Okay, so we are already on week 7 of 8. We are down to the last few weeks, and you have submitted your first large project, which was the teacher observation. I have enjoyed reading all of those. Some of you went above and beyond, visited so many classrooms. Thank you so much for that. Some of you found a classroom that you really enjoyed all 5 or more hours at. That's wonderful too. Everybody who submitted this did a really great job, and so hopefully the feedback reflects that I give you. A few of you didn't have complete timesheets or something was missing, so please check your grade in the grade book and see if I left you a comment, because I do need to collect those timesheets sooner rather than later with all of the information filled out so that I can send those letters to teachers. Each teacher you visited gets a certificate of professional development, which is important because for certification purposes, teachers have to renew their certificate every few years and have so many hours of professional development under their belt. So that's helpful for them. And then we also send a letter to the schools thanking them for a partnership and for having you. So that kind of keeps future EDU 200 students in their good graces and helps us to continue seeing good teaching and wonderful classrooms. I did read that a few of you had a hard time getting into where you wanted to, and I'm sorry to hear that. This semester we have a lot of students not in Prescott, which is pretty unusual. So if you are in the Prescott area, I can better help, but if you're outside of the Prescott area, I don't really have relationships with those people. So I'm sorry for those of you who maybe had to try multiple times to get into a classroom. The next thing you have coming up, which is due 12/3, is to create a lesson plan. So you have a lot of stuff in Canvas, some videos, some handouts that will help you, some templates, a lot of just directions. You'll be sharing that lesson plan with somebody and getting feedback. If you want to come into my office during office hours, I would love that. I have a couple students from my other Intro to Ed class coming in this week to do theirs. So if you have time to pop by, otherwise you can videotape it or you can do it for a friend or a family member. But make sure you're getting really good, authentic feedback from whoever you do it for. Don't do it for your best friend who you know is just going to check you off, because the idea is that you can really get somebody who can say, have you thought about doing this? Or maybe you could try that. So that's the point of the lesson plan, and that is all encompassed in the Learning Outcome 2, which covers student learning styles and teaching styles. And a lot of you noticed some really neat things during your observation, some of which I was surprised you picked up on, about classroom management, follow through, and student engagement and group learning. So that's really great. I'm glad to see that you all have learned something this semester. And then next week is week 8. It's our last week. We'll wrap up on the 8th of December, and you'll just have sort of a more regular week that week. Chapter 5 quiz and personal philosophy of education. So that I will talk more about next week, but it should kind of tie into your lesson plan and into your observation, all the other things you've learned this semester through Teach Like Your Hair's on Fire, the textbook, the other resources, Harry Wong, all of that stuff should kind of infiltrate your personal philosophy of teaching and sort of define how you want to be as a teacher. You know, not only who should be taught, think of the who, what, when, where, why. So this is something you can be thinking about over the next week before you write it. Who should we teach? All students. What should we teach them? Well, we're supposed to teach them the Common Core standards. But, or in Arizona, it's Arizona's College and Career Readiness Standards, but are there social, emotional, or relational aspects that you want to implement? Self-esteem, you know, making friends. What other things would you embed in the curriculum to encompass the whole child? When, so kind of come at it from the perspective of a certain age group. Of course, a kindergarten teacher philosophy might look different than a senior high school teacher philosophy or a college educator. So keep that in mind as you're writing it, and tell us what age group, early childhood, whatever you're thinking about teaching. So who, what, when, where. A lot of you might want to do things outdoors, go on field trips. You should integrate that into your good teaching styles. or strategies. And then why, like why should they kind of identify why you're going to do it that way. But then most importantly is the how. So how are you going to teach kids? Are you going to use cooperative learning? Are you going to use Bloom's taxonomy? What things stood out to you during this class that really resonated with you, whether it be how you learned or how you didn't learn and how you want to teach differently? I noticed a lot of that in your teacher observations. I saw this, but I don't want to do that. I want to do something different. So all of that can be compiled into your philosophy. You can Google teaching philosophies to sort of see what some look like, and there are certainly resources in Canvas for you. Like I said, I'll touch on this a little bit more next week, but I wanted to give you a heads up so that you have time to really ponder your own teaching philosophy. And as long as it's well written, you can, your philosophy is your philosophy. So what you choose to focus on will by no means be graded based upon what I think is a good teaching philosophy, because what your philosophy is will be indicative of where you end up as a teacher. Would public school be best for you, or private, charter, religious? There's all kind. Would you do curriculum development? Philosophies are also tied to future careers and goals. So that being said, I will wrap up my video for now and check back in again next week. Have a good week, everybody.